Okay, the previous display wasn't that great for feedback. I might have to send this link to the guys. Okay, yeah, sorry about that little issue. It's the first time I'm doing it, and I just had to create like a new stream link here. I'm not sure if I can see the chat nicely, but I'm gonna make sure I do that. Okay, this way I can see the chat perfect. I'm not sure if I can see the chat nicely. I think we're gonna have to wait a little bit because I just reshared this previous link. Just a moment. So hi guys, sorry about that little issue. I have to recreate this link. So I'm going to be jumping inside of these workflows here. And feel free to use the chat. I will try to react to it in real time, let's say. Let's just start some of our workflows today. I thought that I'm just going to share some of my like concept vehicle development workflows, which can be interesting, hopefully. So let's just create the new file inside this tutorial folder here. I'm going to use this landscape orientation canvas. What I'm going to try to showcase is that how we can like diversely ideate for the first time in Vizcom, and then how we can like how we can develop an idea in like a controlled manner further down the road. So I just created a new file, and usually what I like to start with is like a very rough package or proportion model. So that's what I'm going to do here. I just click on the layers tab and see this add 3D layer icon. And these are just the uploaded like template models that I like to use as like an initial starting point for the renders, basically. And yeah, hopefully you can hear me well and see me as well, but I'm just gonna double check on that one. Okay, perfect. Let's just select some of these like rough package models. I'm going to use this one. And what we can do is just set an orientation, set the view that we are going to just use as a rough underlay for the renderings. And the cool thing is what we can do is to set actually different views from the same object. So for example, I can just set something of a front view. I can add it to canvas. And then I can just double click or right click on this layer, duplicate it. And the original 3D layer has this function where I just click on this little downward facing arrow and I can re-edit in 3D. So I can just rotate it in like a side view, let's say. I can update the layer here. I can double click yet again this 3D layer and create maybe like a final view of it, or like a third view, something like this. I can update the canvas. And since we have these 3 views, we can maybe try to create like even identical renderings of these 3 views, but I just laid it out as an underlay for me. But I'm likely going to just develop one of these views. So I'm going to go ahead with this one, and I can just click on M on the keyboard and just make it a little bit bigger for me, like this. And I'm going to use the keyboard shortcuts in Vizcom for this workflows. These are located here under the right corner, and we can check these out. This can be very nice workflow accelerations if you're just using the application and sketching inside it. So I'm just creating a new layer on top of the previous one, or on top of this 3D, and I'm even lowering the opacity of that one here. And I'm going to just sketch over something interesting, try to make some concept vehicle out of this. So I will just try to define something with my brush here, something which is quite simplistic and advanced. I can either trace over the lines of the 3D object, or I can make changes even, like, let's cut it off like this. Connect the surfaces here in a way. An input like this should be completely enough. And what we can do is go back to the previous like 3D model, and we can start erasing some of the elements that we don't want to see on the rendering. So I'm just simply just erasing these. They're not actually visible. And I'm just trying to define these surfaces very roughly and very quickly. Because what I try to do here is to just define this output with the hard lines that is on the canvas, or that the hard lines that are on the canvas basically. I just try to define those. And it can be a combination of 3D and like the 2D sketch. So we got this kind of very weird shape here. And what we can do is to create the first renderings. Maybe I just try to indicate these wheels a bit better. face expose here, or just a very light indication. And now if I get this input, let's just start creating the renderings. So go into render mode, let's say. I'm just going to prompt something. I really just like to keep it simple at the beginning. So just prompting something like a silver concept vehicle in a dark studio with a comma, dark studio. And I'm going to just leave the drawing influence as high as possible. Oops, I'm just going to set the style to Vizcom general, which gives me like a something close to photorealistic. What I'm looking for here is to something that I can like start working with that is representing my shapes relatively correctly. And with these abstract inputs, it's not the easiest to get it on the first go. But this one is quite okay. I can just make it like store it as a hidden layer. I can lower on the drawing influence and just find that slider state or like drawing influence number that is going to be fitting for this workflow, because it's quite an unusual input. Now I already started to get some happy accidents as well, but this is like it's a quite nice of an interpretation here. This is very wild with the glass interior. Let's say now I'm just in exploring mode. So I just try to like create ideas around my package. And I'm just storing some of the more interesting renderings here. One second, just a moment. Okay, so we got these renderings here. I'm just going to click on cancel, and I will also try to explore the lower end of the state as well. So this is like touching in the realm of like advanced design. So I just really want to have some sort of interesting ideas around my package, just like this. And I'm just trying to find some theme that is interesting or captivating in a way. Yep, we are. By the way, we are doing the Instagram page with Nico, the other product expert that you've seen before, and also with Jordan, the CEO of Vizcom, and with Amo as well, our product implementation expert. So it's kind of a team effort right there. Okay, I'm just going to check on my layers tab and select which one I want to go forward with. I think this is possibly the closest to my expectation. So I'm just probably going to go with this one, but I really like to explore every generated result. And there are like two things which I like to do after the initial rendering, that is kind of setting the base, not the aesthetic, but like the main proportions and the shapes and the main surfaces. What we can do is a very cool trick that we can just get the inpainting tool, like the lasso selection path, and just create like a very rough selection around the shape, head into refine mode, and just click on generate. And it will just blow up this proposal basically. So it will get some instant like refinement on the surfaces, and it will try to interpret something which is a bit more realistic in our lines. And this is like a super cool interpretation of the previous example. So I just like to do it because it's a very nice feedback that I got on my initial like proposal. You can notice that it's still like an abstract like shape and concept vehicle. And that is why it's worth to basically construct your prompts in a more abstract way. I mean that I didn't write anything like a car or something that is traditional and mm, can connect to some more traditional car aesthetic, let's say. I went with the concept vehicle, which is like very abstract. A vehicle can be basically anything. And this way I could really keep it in the realm of this advanced looking thing, let's say. And what I really like to do from this point, either if I'm still in like an exploration state, we can just go ahead and re-render this with the other render styles. So I go into the Technicolor 6, which I like to just burst out basically surfacing ideas out of that tool. I can just leave the prompt as it is even and just lower on the drawing influence slider. Actually, let's just experiment a little bit with like full influence first. And what we can get here is some interesting surfacing solution, and we can just explore some of the in-betweens of our concepts. But I am usually getting these around like 50%ish. So I can just click on regenerate. And this is still like exploration and creating alternatives on a package. Okay, that's quite far off. Yeah, in this case, maybe we have to higher on the drawing influence a bit. And just keep generating some ideas, still maintaining the same prompt. I'm finding some nice solutions here. For example, I try to connect these two surfaces, which is quite interesting. I can explore that in a bit. And I'm saving this one as well. I can just save it as a hidden layer with this button, and I don't have to worry about it messing up the canvas. It is going to be stored as a hidden layer. I can just go back to these. And so for example, if I just find this interesting, I can just still like validate it with the same trick, just simply selecting it with the inpainting and just passing it through the refine mode once again. It's just very quick idea validation basically. Okay. Yeah, this is like a very interesting idea too. Seems more to me like a rear view of a vehicle, but I'm just gonna keep it as like a side idea, let's say. And we have the other example as well. I can just quickly blow this up to. Let's just blow up some of these ideas. And then after, I can just basically describe something which is a bit more specific or a bit more wild, let's say. And still use the Technicolor for that. This is quite a handsome looking like space truck of some sort. I see fantasy in it, definitely. With the see-through kind of wheel arches. Very wild. I'm just gonna confirm this one. Now still exploration. I just want to get back here and describe something which is a bit more specific. Let's call it a moon rover concept vehicle is rolling on a purple planet. Usually, if we write like a color in the prompt, that might take over the aesthetic if we don't balance it with like either a different color or with some prompt weights, but I'm just gonna say that it's a silver moon rover concept vehicle is rolling on a purple planet. I can even say something like mountains in the background. And I can even say that it's a dark scene. Let's just hit generate with this prompt description. Oops, not in refine mode. Let's go back to render mode and use the Technicolor for that. And I'm looking for something which is a bit more striking, basically. Like a striking scene of some sort. Oops, I misspelled the dark scene, by the way. You have to correct the spelling mistakes in order to make them properly recognize or make it properly recognize your words. Because it will not know what you meant. Okay, these are nice looking. I'm just gonna hire on the drawing influence and just generate one more, but I'm gonna settle with an idea, I promise. Ooh, these are handsome. Okay, I'm just going to save this one and this one here. And I'm just quickly blowing these up. Oops. Let's just pass them through refine mode. I just love to like very quickly validate a lot of ideas with by basically blending render modes together. Let's say, yeah, this is like a very unique aesthetic which I could like capture here. This is fascinating. Oh, wow. Okay, definitely going to save these, and then I'm just going to do with the previous one. Or with the other one as well, which was, I believe, oh, this was the one. Yes, this was the one. Just very quickly undoing the painting mask and just passing it through refine. And you can notice that how interesting it can be to just very quickly like blow out these details on this interesting in betweens on top of your package. I find this aspect of like ideating in Vizcom basically very interesting and quite quite fascinating. Let's just rock with this one for now. What I will do here though is to start developing an idea. So this can be like a good visual starting point, but if you really want to get your intentions across, basically if you want to have the control and like control basically each part of the rendering, you can just go ahead with the painting and select some of the areas and just start describing the creation. For example, here I would probably just give it some new wheels. I love these ones, but I just want to try some new wheels, so I'm just going to focus on that part for first. So I've just created a new layer. I'm gonna leave this like metal tire as it is, but I'm just masking the internal part with like a black brush. And what I can do here is either copy this color or use the, let's say, the complementary color of this purple, and just create a new layer and just visualize some spokes. It can be like a simplistic color doodle. I'm doing it on both wheels. It can be good to indicate the light and shadow and some sort of like depth to the whole thing. I'm going to start off with something which is quite simple. And what I can do is either to lower the opacity of this black mask. It can be also useful to catch a little bit of light from the previous surface treatment. And I can now go ahead with the painting and just focus on the wheels. And I'm just selecting these little very rough things that I've just done. I can even lower the opacity on these elements a little bit. And then I can just describe it in refine mode. You don't, the description doesn't matter that much. The visuals have like much more emphasis when it comes to the end result, but I'm just gonna say that these are like, let's say, real design. Futuristic futuristic wheel design will be like completely enough to just click on generate with like, let's say, 50% drawing influence. And so when you're using painting, these main modes, the render and refine, are working very similarly how they would work without the mask. So in render, you can describe a new aesthetic on top of your lines here. And in refine, it is just going to take the aesthetic and try to make it a little bit more realistic. Try to push more details into it, basically. Just like here, we have some very quirky, nice little wheels. Let's just lower on the drawing influence and try some more extreme visuals on the wheels. Yeah, by the way, feel free to just follow along or throw in something on the chat, or just, yeah, feel free to have any questions around it. I'm just gonna have a little bit of a fun here with the wheels. Okay, what I'm gonna do is to go to the history tab, which is located here, and I will try to find the first set of generated renderings. You can just click on the images and they will appear big. And I'm just going to restore this as by adding it to my canvas. And what I can still do is to just pass it through the refine mode once again. If I want to just blow up a detail of a certain area, I can just stay in refine and use the mask to just blow up that area even more. If I want to expose some more photorealism or some more details at a certain part. But yeah, the previous one was okay. Okay, if we did that, let's just focus on this quite interesting like cabin area that we have here. I think we can fill it out with some glass possibly. Let's just try to cover some of these. creating a new layer. Yeah, it's basically like a sketching exercise using Vizcom and just refining the ideas. I will try to define. Yeah, let's take this color, and let's just try to define this roof of the vehicle. And I'm gonna create a new layer. Color pick this orange and just fill it up with orange. Try to create some orange glass part. And I can either like lower the opacity and create new layers, or lower the opacity of the brush itself and just try to define roughly the aesthetic this way. But I'm actually gonna modify the shade of this like a darker one. Now, if we have something like this, we can just use the painting either to just select this area and call it as like a cabin of a vehicle. I'm just going to see that cabin of a vehicle. And let's see if it can get like recognize this visual, because in refine mode it really has to recognize the sort of sketches that you're creating on the canvas, and it can then take it to the next level, let's say. Okay, it could complement it nicely. I was looking for something like this. I can confirm this one. Okay, now what we can do is perhaps try to apply a material to, let's just create a new element here. Oops, my microphone's fading in and out. Oh, thanks for the feedback. Oh yes, like a smudge tool would be very nice. Oh yeah, yeah, like a softer brush, for example. Yeah, we're working on something like that. Okay, yeah, that's great. Quickly toggle off more layer than one. Yeah, yeah. Hi, Steve. Um, yeah, we currently have this. We just implemented the toggling of the layers. So if you start off with, for example, if I just want to hide the layers, I can just go ahead and just toggle out these layers and just see where I started with here very quickly. Like that. This was the very like sketchy input. load up the renderings like this. And so this toggling off is toggling on and off is inside. You can just try it with your stylus or your mouse as well. It should be working, but let me know if you experience some troubles with it. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna see if I can do something about my microphone. I didn't know it wasn't working well. It should be perfect. Just quickly checking on it. It's supposed to be working correctly. Interesting. Okay. Oh yeah, that's. I'm glad to hear that. Vizcom is working now nicely on Safari as well. Okay. Nice one. This can be like a very interesting like moving around or like grocery shopping vehicle of an astronaut of some sort. I was just thinking, okay, I'm just going to implement some elements here. Okay. Okay. Thanks for the feedback. I'm gonna try to do something about that. Very interesting. I'm not sure how would it be. Okay. Let me know if you can hear me better or worse this way. Maybe, maybe. Okay, yeah, nice. Okay. It is working on iPad as well. Yeah, cool. Ah, okay. I'm glad to hear that. You can hear me now. Awesome. I'm very sorry about it. I checked it before, but yeah, I'm very new to streaming, so I should have double check it. I just dropped in some elements, or actually, I just sketched in some dark element here. Just to have a quick reference. What I can do is select it with the painting tool. And I will try to apply a material to it. So I can go to the reference images. And I'm just selecting some sort of texture. It could be, for example, this one. cork-like texture. What I can do is to just set the influence of this reference image, and also I can pair it with the drawing influence slider, but I usually leave them at max. And then I can later play with the opacity if the effect is too strong or not how I expected. Then I'm just gonna apply a texture here. And we get these options. We get this relatively odd looking texture applied there. We can just clean up the edges a little bit. I would more so use it like as a light texture. So I would lower the opacity and just give it a little bit of a flavor, let's say. Something like that to introduce a little bit of like of an interesting material underneath this little vehicle. Okay, this is starting to look okay. And what we can also do here is let's just try to sketch in a figure. So we can sketch inside like a very basic astronaut. I just like to sketch in astronaut to these like very Martian and space age scenes like this. So I can just grab the brush, lower the opacity. Okay, if the audio is still a little bit in and out. Okay, then I'm checking it again. Okay, I think it might come from the fact that I'm just turning my head from the microphone, but if it's connected to some sort of noise suppression, that shouldn't happen. Wow, thanks for the feedback, Garcia, Nacho Alfonso Garcia. Yeah, we are definitely going to keep improving the sketching experience, the feature set, and everything. And yeah, feel free to be like an active shaper of it, and let me know if you have like a specific request or what should we do better. Because we are building the tool towards the community and the professional feedbacks, and yeah, we are really enjoying that. Mhm. Yeah, I'm trying with the mic. I'm just going to try to listen to myself a little bit. Oh, okay, I can hear it now. It's very weird. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure what is happening. I'm just gonna go ahead with this like astronaut sketch here. Thanks so much for the encouragement. It just will be like a basic character of some sort. You can just define it with this like low opacity brush, for example. But yeah, I'm not very great with characters, so I usually just roughly indicate it. Because of course I don't wanna like spend so much time with it. I just create some basic shapes like this. And I can grab it, make it, adjust it a little bit. Maybe even put some other color to it as well. And then I can either use the refine or the render mode to make it come to life, basically. We can try to experiment with both actually. So I can just select the figure that is on the scene. And we can prompt it. It is like a floating astronaut. Go ahead with render mode. I can just click on generate with like a lowered drawing influence. Oh yeah, it might be. Yeah, thanks, Gil, for the feedback. Yeah, this is very interesting. I will try to speak it in the mic then a little bit more, or like better. Oops, that's a yeah. That brings up a great point. If we forgot to close this little tab here, the reference image tab, we are going to be applying the reference image on this little astronaut character, which is quite unfortunate. So we can just go ahead and cancel this one, and we have to close the reference image tab in order not to influence our creation. And with 50%, we can just get some very nice like floating astronauts like this. We can keep iterating on them or pass them through the refine mode even. This way we get a very nice looking handsome astronaut on the scene as well. And maybe I can adjust the opacity of it. Oh, I put it on the same layer. Like something like this. Would be nice. This is the everyday vehicle, or like the daily driver of this astronaut on this Mars looking planet, let's say. Just flipping the canvas a little bit. And it's a half open, half closed little concept vehicle, which is quite nice. And of course, what we can do is to still play around with the refine feature, for example, to just select some of the areas and still try to like boost some details or have some refinement. For me, this quality wise, this would be okay, but we can just go ahead and just select these and try to boost the details maybe. And we can go to the layers tab to actually replace or reuse some of the prompts that we did before. For example, I believe this was some of the original prompts. I can just copy it from the layers tab because the layer name is actually the prompt. that constructed the rendering. And I can just, oops, it wasn't that one. That was the one. I can just copy it and put it back here, just to have a reinforcement in the prompt as well. And we can still explore some alternative details on the same package. It's a hard decision, but I think I'm gonna cancel this one for now, and this will be okay for me with these little quirky like metal wheels and with this applied like cork texture here. But what I'm gonna do, I noticed that it doesn't have any sort of light, which is not very practical for such a like Mars vehicle of some sort. So we need to have some sort of lights that I'm gonna just put in here on these wheel arches. Maybe I can make it a bit more subtle. Something like this, just to block out the black area for the headlights. And then I can create a new layer and just define the, let's say, the LED, like a slimmer brush. And if I could define something like this, let's just check it, more or less. I can just still use the inpainting tool. I'm hitting escape to reset the canvas. And I can use the inpainting tool to call it as, let's say, glowing headlights. And I can hold down shift for multiple selection. And I want to be in render mode for this one because I want to have a glowing effect. Headlights. I can either be at like a higher drawing influence, but I will try to have something at 50%. Okay, it couldn't read it well. I'm just gonna maintain it back. Maintain like a high drawing influence instead of that. Let's see if it can. Okay, it's having a hard time reading this. So I'm going to try to do something about it. What if I just select this one by one? Let's just prompt a color. Glowing headlights. Okay, these doesn't want to be glowy here, but I don't want to waste a lot of times here, like a lot of time here. I just pass it through once again. It might not recognize what I want to do. Okay, There we go. There we go. Okay, sometimes we have to create like a broader selection in order to properly recognize what we want to do in that area. Okay, we couldn't get this one here, but it's going to be okay for now. And what I also like to do here is to, if you have something which is like a final rendering of some sort or presentation, I can just go ahead and duplicate this rendering that I've created on top of, and I can set it to multiply to, of course, have this nice darker effect. Of course, I can take this out to Photoshop and modify it further, maybe, but I can just have this very nice darker effect if I just set another layer to multiply on top of this. And I can erase some of the parts that I want to be highlighted, for example. Oh yeah, Ladino prompt. That's a good one. Thanks for the tip. We can maybe undo till that part. Oops. Yeah, I could give it like another go even with this. It is just reading the hard lights, let's say LED blue glowing headlights. Oops. Just set the drawing influence a bit higher. Yeah. Oops, I'm in refine mode. I should probably do it in render mode, because that is reading the hard lines, and you can describe like a new aesthetic in the render mode, or like an effect that you want to see. Yeah, but it is having a hard time with this example. I could make it work on this example, but something was off with my sketch, or the way how I basically use the painting over it. But okay, I think that's it for this workflow. I would have some other workflows too, but I was quite slow, and yeah, I would have shown some other files too. But we could just do like a nice exploring here. I'm just gonna reveal some of the more crazier ideas that we had before, like the crazier in betweens that we could generate. But it's just very fun to explore an idea from A to Z in Vizcom. So, for example, I could just develop this idea as well. I could go into refine mode and just maybe create some different wheels on this proposal, or just have like a, yeah, basically build this up too, because that was quite an interesting one too. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope I could show something interesting. But yeah, let me know if you still have like any questions, and let me know if you have any ideas or feedbacks. And thank you so much for doing this live stream with me. It was my first time, so thanks for all the messages, feedbacks, and all the like positive reinforcement. Thanks so much. And we will definitely be carrying some cool content for you. And yeah, hopefully I'm going to solve this microphone situation for the previous or the next one too. No problem. Thanks for the feedback, Steve. Okay. I wish you a great evening and great great Thanksgiving if you're in the US. No problem. Yeah, we have a page where you can put questions. You can do this under the little help icon in the interface. It came from Brewbuster. So if you go into the interface under the help icon, you can just click on the contact support and you can just directly talk with us here. It will bring up this interface and we can just say something to the team. And of course, you can use Discord too. Okay. Maybe later. Maybe I develop it later. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna call it off. Yeah. See you guys next time.